Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, these are the facts of the case. In 1839, citizens from West Africa were taken from their homes, forced into the transatlantic slave trade, and placed aboard a Spanish ship to serve as slaves to the wealthy. Led by Sengbe P.A. and known in the film as Joseph Cinque, they refused to accept that fate. They rose up. They took control of the ship and demanded to be returned to their homeland. Instead, they were intercepted near the coast of the United States and imprisoned. What followed was more than a court case. It became a question of decency. Would these men be treated as property or recognized as human beings with rights, names, and lives that mattered? This is a story of the legal struggle, a case that reached the United States Supreme Court and forced a young nation to confront the gap between the founding ideals and its actions. This isn't an easy story. It shouldn't be. It's a story about dignity, about identity, and about a claim to freedom that refused to be silenced. It's your duty to find the defendants free to return to their home in Africa. This is Amistad.
Hello, everyone. Before the episode begins, we wanted to give you a heads up. This episode may deal with more mature themes and subject matter, so listener discretion is advised. We understand our viewpoint is not the one featured in this movie, so we try to approach the material from respectful commentary and analysis. We appreciate your understanding and hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome, potential jurors, to Amblin v. Cinema, a podcast dedicated to exploring the stories and film craft, defining the creative giants of silver screen. Today, we are enjoying the judicious Amistad, made by Steven Spielberg in 1997. I'm your host, Tyler Birch.
And this is Crystal.
So, as we've so eloquently put it in the opening, this is a movie it's a court movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely is.
At the end of the day, it's a court movie about people fighting for their rights and trying to navigate a pre-Civil War United States and what that looks like. That awkward phase where there's still founders alive. We're still trying to figure out who we are.
Definitely. We weren't even teenagers yet. We were just kind of toddlers.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
I was watching The Second National Treasure a couple days ago or yesterday. They were talking about the Civil War and they said before the Civil War, people would say the United States are. And then after the Civil War, it was United States is.
Oh.
Because that's when we truly became unified. And I thought that was really interesting. And it's illustrated in this movie with the pressure that the South puts on the president to try to keep getting this court case to go a certain way.
Yes.
It's also just weird to think that it was less than 100 years after we became a country.
I know.
It's odd, but this isn't a history podcast. It's the movie podcast. Now that we've talked about it a little bit, let's go ahead and do our first impressions. So, Mom, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you became acquainted with Amistad?
This movie came out in 1997, and I didn't see it when it first came out.
You didn't take 3-year-old me to go and see Amistad, this
Absolutely not.
graphic, intense movie
I didn't even
about...
take you to see Titanic, so
You have to understand, 3 hours of a toddler's time is a lot different than 3 hours of an
that
adult's
is
time.
true. That is true. Let's see. I didn't see this movie until I was in college. I was taking one of those United States history courses, so it was before the Dred Scott chapter of what we were
Okay.
studying. They had us watch the movie, obviously on our own. They didn't show it in class, but this movie was heartbreaking, definitely eye-opening. This is not a story that you hear when you're going through your foundational education. I'd never heard of it. I think Spielberg did an amazing job in portraying the inhumane ways they were treated.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. And I'm pretty sure I saw this movie in high school. Then I watched it again, and there was just a lot of cruelty and nudity, and it felt unlikely that I watched it in high school. I don't know if maybe we just discussed the case, and so my mind just equated that to the movie.
Maybe.
I don't know. Some of it seemed familiar, some of it didn't.
Maybe they fast forward.
And maybe, yeah, they
Yeah.
could have just fast forwarded because there was very obvious parts where you were going to be doing the skipping. So it's probably easier to manage. So I think I've experienced at least some of it early 2010s. So, but it didn't really click with me at the time. Definitely an intense movie when we see their experiences on is it the Toscana?
Takora?
The Takora, yeah. It's definitely when we see their experience on the Takora because you get that little tease early on in the movie where they hear the name Takora and you see their faces darken
Oh, yeah.
and they've clearly had some sort of experience, but you don't get that immediately. You don't get that payoff immediately. It's not till later in the film when you already think you've got an idea of what's going on with the cruelty and the conditions that they were in before they got brought over from Africa to head to America. And then it's just like all of a sudden, just boom, right back in your face. And it's 10 times worse than it was before. And It just takes you by surprise.
You talking about the flashback?
Yeah, to its
Yeah.
core, yeah.
Okay.
So it's surprising that they put that in as late as they did.
I don't know. I think it was pretty genius if you think about it, because you're in it. That was during the court case. Sadly, with legal stuff, I kind of, okay, I kind of not detached, but I'm not as riveted, I guess. So when they did the flashback, it brought me right back into, the emotions of the movie.
Yeah. And it's kind of like discovery for a court case because obviously you don't find out information until you're much farther in. So
That is true.
holding on to it because, we start out with this movie and it's them doing the mutiny.
Yeah.
As we go on and we start to learn more about what their actual conditions were, the same as the people that are prosecuting them, you start have your minds change, have your hearts change, and you
Hmm.
start to buy more into these people deserve their freedom
Absolutely.
and what they've had to go through, and then what they have to experience with the American judicial system.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's pretty much, I mean, first impressions, dark and stormy. Yeah, they shot this movie dark. It was really cool to see Jaimon Hansu early on in his career. I think that was really cool to see him early in his career because he's at this point, unfortunately, he's a character actor, and this was his only, I think, his only time being the leading man. Getting to see him in that role so early on, somebody that you see later on in, Papa Midnight and Constantine, and you see him in The King's Man and Shola, and a whole bunch of different things that you've seen, big or small, that are related usually to some sort of sci-fi comic book or whatever. There's a good chance that Jaimin Hansu is in it. I love the guy, and he did a great job in this.
He really did. In preparing for this podcast, I actually went back to the music videos that we talked about earlier. Obviously, not much acting in music
Right,
videos,
yeah.
but I thought he did great. So I could see why he is where he is in his career. So I'm really happy that Spielberg gave him the chance because otherwise we might not have seen him in
Yeah.
these other movies. So
I don't know though. He's a badass. He could have gotten in any time. All right. So now that we've talked about our first impressions of the movie, we're going to go ahead and move on to our Mr. DNA Explains, where we talk story, characters, themes, symbols, what have you. Anything we can about the movie. We're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. Just go ahead and do the characters. I know mom got like a post note or something from Mr. DNA for this week.
he sent me a postcard.
Sent you a postcard.
Yeah. He's on that Alaskan cruise. He invited us. Did you ever get the ticket?
I'm pretty sure he invited us when he was already on the cruise.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That little devil. But he is missed. Hopefully, he'll be back for the next episode.
Yeah. We'll need his help explaining more. So in his stead, we're going to go ahead and just hop right into the characters, even though when you're supposed to put in an actual vacation request when you leave the company.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a discussion, maybe an occurrence for what he's done, but we'll figure that out when we get there. So first up, we're going to talk about Joseph Sinke. Obviously, like we said, played by
Yes.
Jaimin Hansu, obviously the main character of this movie, somebody that is the emotional core of this movie, trying to communicate with anybody that will listen and just failing in that frustration. The frustration of doing what's right for your people and having other people who have no idea of your background or experiences try to make assumptions about who you are.
And represent you.
Yeah, represents you, not knowing anything about you.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like I said, I think he did a great job right from the get go. That opening scene where he's pulling out the nail and
Oh,
his
yeah.
hand is bleeding, just seeing that desperation. I think learning more about him as the movie goes on with the lion story,
Yes.
that was really good. Where he talks about how a lion attacked his village. He didn't try to kill it to be a hero. He just wanted to survive.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got lucky with a rock, and that became a defining story of who he is and why people treat him like a leader is because of what he was able to do to kill that lion. And he keeps that lion fang with him as a memento.
He actually loses on the ship.
Yeah, for a time he
Yeah.
does. And I think that's interesting because he fights many lions in this movie.
Yes, he does. But he doesn't have a rock. Not until
Not until
the end, I guess.
translator, I guess. Yeah, once
Yeah.
they can finally start having conversations. So I think maybe that's when he gets armed like he's supposed to for any kind of court trial, is to when he can finally talk to the person that's representing him.
It was amazing, too.
Yeah.
Such a smart guy. He knew exactly what was going on for that Supreme Court case. Remember, he kept talking and, okay, go tell him this. Okay. Did he?
No, we just kept asking
Yeah.
questions and questions
Yeah.
and questions to
And
John
John
Quincy
Quincy
Adams.
Adams was like, yes.
Just bring him here.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this. Tired of this game of telephone. Just bring him.
But yeah, he did an amazing job. I was surprised he wasn't nominated for an Oscar.
His visceral reaction during the court hearing when they're deciding his fate and he finally speaks English to try to convince them that they need to acquit them. His scene and interplay with McConaughey where they're both talking about
The same thing.
the same thing in different languages. What's weird about that scene is it feels kind of like like The Little Mermaid, you know, two different worlds.
That is true.
You know, there's this barrier between us. For them is language.
Yeah.
For Ariel and Prince Eric, it's the ocean. So
Right.
it's because they were sitting there talking about the exact same thing, and but had no idea that they're both talking about the exact same thing.
Right. Was that when he was trying to figure out where he was from? Or was that after? Remember, because he was trying to prove that they weren't from Cuba.
His refusal to enter a jail cell. Remember when they crushed his hand with the
Oh,
door
yes. Wow.
to try to push him in, and he refused
He
to. He wasn't going to
refused.
be put in another cage.
Whatever happened with that? Was his hand okay?
His hands seem fine.
Okay.
It's hard to tell the passage of time in this movie. So it takes about 2 years. I also love his sense of style as we go through his court cases.
Yeah.
Funny because the higher these cases go, the better
The better
dressed he
he
gets.
dresses.
By the end of it, he's looking like a French aristocrat.
But I liked on the voyage home, he's wearing the white.
Simple clothing to go back to their simple lives.
Yeah, but it's also in the daytime compared to what they left in, the darkness and all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So next we'll talk about Roger Baldwin, who is played by Matthew McConaughey, a real estate attorney with an interesting viewpoint that seems terrible today, but probably fit perfectly in the time. Slaves are property, so you need a property attorney for this, not a criminal attorney.
It hurt when he said it. As you said, that was the belief of the day, which also them being in the North was kind of weird, but I don't know where they were in that process.
Come on, we know the North wasn't that virtuous.
No, no,
So,
of course not.
and this became a North versus South thing because of the powder keg that they were in at that time.
So that was interesting. Matthew McConaughey, maybe his first serious role.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Before his rom com era,
One of the first movies I saw that he didn't take his shirt off.
because
You
he was
know,
wearing 6 layers.
but that's what me and Larry talk about. Every time we watch a Matthew McConaughey movie, when's he gonna take his shirt off? Not
Mhm.
because we want to, but that just seems to be his go-to.
Yeah,
I thought he did a good job in reading. His character was supposed to be older. One of my favorite scenes with him was when they won, not the Supreme Court, but the district. Was it the district that they actually won? And the guy was like, the
sure.
judge, yeah, the second one, maybe?
Yeah, well, let's say the second one.
And the guy was like, yeah, they need to go home. He jumped out of his chair.
Yeah, well, he waited because everybody else started cheering,
Yeah,
and he was like, "Okay, we won, but how much did we win?"
right.
And then when he said, "Yeah, get these guys back home," and then that's when he was celebrating.
Jumped out of the chair. He did like a turn and and the table. Oh, I should have put that down in symbols. The table.
Yeah,
Don't put it there. Put it over there.
the territories in the jail.
Yes.
To give context, once he comes and meets all the Mende people in the jail, he brings a table to sit and communicate and connect with them. And every time somebody places it down, another guy comes over and says, "No, no, no, this is my territory. Go to the other territory." And they can't agree with where to put this table. When we were watching them in the courthouse, it looks like it might have been the same table. So we're not sure if maybe he had to bring his own table to his trial. I don't know, but
We
yeah,
like to believe it
yeah.
because the table was a big deal.
It was just a funny little bit. There's more humor with the Mende people than you would expect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
The
needed it
yes, yeah.
because it was such a heavy subject.
Shows that they were still in good spirits even though they've been going through hell.
He was such a good leader. We're back to him. Zinke. Remember when they were walking to the courthouse and one of his people had their head down and he's like, look up, kind of reminded me of what Celie did in The Color Purple to Sophia. That's a good leader. That's a good person that actually cares about your well being. No, no, come on. We got this.
It's embodying that they can beat you up as much as they want, but
Yeah.
you can never beat yourself up.
That's right.
That's when you lose.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense for him to be young.
Yeah.
Only a young person would think this was a good idea
Yeah.
to fight this battle. I do think that we could have done a better job of fleshing out his motivations for doing it.
Yeah. Because he ended up losing his client.
Yeah, he lost his career. It's interesting how many of Spielberg's movies that we're getting now, like where the main character is the good Samaritan and yet they lose everything.
Yeah.
Because like Oscar Schindler, 'cause after the war ends,
He lost
he
everything.
lost everything.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Roger Baldwin getting a lot after this. There's nothing that was in it for him. That's the weird thing. There was no reason why I was able to buy into him being a good Samaritan
Yeah.
and him making the decision. I'm gonna represent the Mende people. It doesn't compute.
Because in his mind in the beginning, it was, I don't want to say it was the right thing to do, but he's like, I can do it. I know how to deal with property.
Yeah.
I got this.
That's why like the young person works
That's
because
true.
he says I can dig on the system.
Older people, you're right.
Yeah,
Like,
no, they said no, the system's not going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, John Quincy Adams did that.
You better.
That's why he didn't get into the fight until
Later.
much later, is because even though this was a case that he was paying attention to and that he cared about, he was stuck in his ways. He didn't think that the government could change. He was falling asleep during meetings.
That was amazing.
He did a fine job. I won't say it was, exceptionally good, but it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing too about this movie is, like, other than Cinque, the portrayals were just kinda there.
Well, so here's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Because in Schindler's List, we had Oscar Schindler,
Right.
which of course he had the arc where
Mhm.
he was very selfish and then he wasn't.
Okay.
So Roger Baldwin, he did the good thing and everything, but he wasn't a hero to root for, like Oscar. Oscar was like a hero to root for me as he was going through his arc. Baldwin went through a similar arc, but I didn't feel like he was the hero, like we discussed with Schindler.
It really just felt like he was going through the motions the whole time.
That's true.
Every time they won in court, it was never because of some, like, exciting piece of evidence he uncovered or some amazing political or legal maneuver that he used to be able to pull off the win.
Yeah.
It would just, "Here's the case. The judge did the right thing. Cool. Next time.
Yeah.
Here's the case. Judge did the right thing. Okay, cool." I think we'll just move on to John Quincy Adams,
Yeah.
former president,
Former
overshadowed by his
president.
father, John Adams,
Always. Yeah.
now a state representative from Massachusetts when
Yes.
we first see him. Yeah,
House of
yeah.
Representatives.
So that was played by Sir Anthony Hopkins, who did do a lot with a little, I'll say that.
Yeah, he wasn't in it very long. And our
Kinda
introduction to him is him asleep in the session.
yeah, him knowing that this things aren't gonna change.
Yeah, but he was listening the whole time, so that was
I'm
amazing.
sure he didn't need to listen, he's probably heard it all before. John Quincy Adams, he was neutral but paying attention. The 2 abolitionists, Lewis Tappan and
Theodore Jodson.
Theodore Joseph, they come and talk to him and try to get him to take the case originally. He just isn't interested, doesn't think I don't think he thinks that the outcome is going to be favorable to
And he was
show
right.
what his skills are, yeah. So he says no, he doesn't want to. Later on, when the Supreme Court comes around, when the stage becomes big enough to hold
Yes,
John Quincy Adams,
absolutely.
then he steps in and he helps out and gives the big final speech that I guess convinced the Supreme Court justices that they should let the Mende people go home.
It was a good speech. Were you convinced?
I was convinced 2 courts ago.
True.
I would have been, but also it depends on the political pressure, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know much about that,
That's
so
what this movie came down to.
yes.
There's just the political pressure to keep pushing this case along, having to fight the system constantly just using you. These people who just wanted to go home becoming the figurehead for something much greater that they never asked to be a part of. It's really just a Rage Against the Machine movie.
It is, and they weren't even citizens of the United States.
Yeah.
So that's what was mind-blowing because it was really about international treaties and all of the things.
Relationship with Spain and
Yeah, all that.
relationship with the South, Martin Van Buren trying to be reelected. So he likes flowers. He
Yeah,
has a greenhouse, and what was it? The African lilac,
African violet.
African violet.
Yes.
Yes, which is a rare flower that he has at when him and Cinque meet, and that's what convinces him, right? Is when they bond over the African violet.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
which is a flower that you can only get in Africa, and he procured it.
And he was actually able to keep it alive
Yeah,
because seems like it needs a lot of humidity. Because remember he had it in some kind of
yeah, it was in like the vase or
yeah,
whatever. I think it's probably supposed to be a metaphor for Africans can live here kind of thing.
yeah, I could see that.
That yeah, you deserve to live. But also it being in the glass vase kind of made it seem like it was fragile. And even though the Mende people were proud and they seemed strong, in the end of the day, they were fragile because they were unaware of the system.
Yeah, and they're human. I mean, I can't imagine going through all that.
Not for 2 years,
No,
terrible
no,
conditions.
no.
We don't even know how long they were on the sea.
I know.
So
That's true.
yeah. Anything else about John Quincy Adams?
No, not really. Like you said, he came in at the end of the day, but I didn't even look at him as a hero, so
He vultured it
yeah.
like Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
He did.
Yeah, Roger Baldwin did 99% of the work, and he swooped in and took the one last
Yeah.
percent.
He didn't lose everything, did he?
No, he
No.
didn't, no. So we'll quickly go over the side characters that we have in this movie. So Lewis Tappan, played by Stellan Skarsgård, a character I think I would have liked to see more of because he seemed the most morally complex about the situation.
Yes.
Good Christian man,
Mhm.
thinks that an abolitionist, thinks he has justified the means through the art of martyrdom.
Yeah, I wasn't he said that, and I was like, "No, just no."
I mean, yeah, on a moral standpoint, it's abhorrent, but it's not a mindset that I'm surprised about.
He totally believed in it, and all he was concerned about was the abolitionist movement.
Yeah, the absolutionist movement trying to promote his religion
Yeah.
like those Christian missionaries that accompanied
Yes,
Cinque and all of
yes.
his family back
Oh,
to
yes.
Africa.
They're gonna save them all, I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
His introduction was pretty strong, talking to Jodson, showing the two different newspaper articles.
Yes,
One showing like Africa, criminals
yes.
killing people on a ship, and then slaves liberate themselves.
Yeah, right.
I love that because it's all about a matter of perspective and how you influence the media. And so watching that was just such a fun way for them to introduce the idea of the different viewpoints that are going to be on this case.
So I don't know if you noticed the name of the second paper, The Emancipator.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember the name of the first one, but
The things are good just the way they are. Time.
exactly. Yes,
Stellan Skarsgård did a fine job of what he was given.
he believed in his cause.
And the cause is all that mattered to
Yeah,
him. These weren't people to him. These were chess pieces.
yeah,
And that's what the Mende people were to it. Pretty much everybody else in this movie were just pieces that they could use on the board.
yeah,
And Roger Baldwin is the only person I think that came to realize they're not just pieces on the board.
yeah, but it took him a
They're
minute.
humans. It did, yeah.
Yeah,
And then we have Morgan Freeman appearing as Jodson. You said that he's original for this, right?
yeah. He was an amalgamation of different figures of that time.
That's so weird to me because he's such a nothing character in this.
I know.
You create this character. I thought that he'd have a bigger part to play in saving the Mende people, emancipating them from their slavery, something. Other than obviously the fact that he's just a wealthy businessman in the North. We kind of got a little bit in that scene where he got caught up in the chains
Mhm.
and he was confronted with what slavery actually looks like
Yeah,
and the cruelty that's involved with it. And that freaked him out. So that was kind of interesting. But overall, not a character we need in this movie.
not really.
Like I love Morgan Freeman. I think
Mhm.
he's great in everything. He was nothing in this movie.
Yeah. There was one scene in particular where I found it interesting. When the Mende come off the ship and they see him and they start talking to him like, "You look like me, so maybe you understand what I'm saying." And he's looking at him like, "I don't understand you." I found that very telling as to his character. As you said, he was just kind of an extra.
Yeah, that could see how to be a good scene. It's a good framework for what this movie is, which is communication language.
Mhm.
He loves talking about communication in his movies. So,
Yes, it does. You are right.
and that is the main crux of this movie.
That's about it for him. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. And then we have Queen Isabella II of Spain, played by Anna Paquin at
mhm.
11 years old. I mean, a child.
Yeah, playing with her dolls. I mean, she didn't care about what was going on,
No,
and as she shouldn't. She was 11.
she was dedicated though. I mean, up until what, like 1864,
Yeah.
she was still trying to get some
Yes.
sort of compensation for this whole affair. Somebody that was constantly trying to pull things behind the scenes so that way she can get some sort of positive out of the situation.
Yeah.
And then Ensign James Covey, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, who was a Navy man, I think.
Yeah, I think he was captured from what I remember from the movie. He was captured by the British.
He was a
Yeah.
slave,
Yeah.
but he's a translator.
Yeah.
And I like the scene where Conahee finds him because he's just talking on the docks and he's just counting numbers in the Mende language as
Yeah.
he's trying to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And that's how Kobe finds him
Yeah.
and then helps him out to work on this case for months and months at a time.
And plus he went with them when they went home.
But yeah, so that's all the characters. So we'll go ahead and talk about scenes. So we'll talk about the initial breakout. Like we said, dark and stormy,
Yeah.
pulling out the nail with his nails, his hands
Mm.
looking gross.
Yeah.
Aging Muni killing the captain, I think.
Yeah.
Just a random person. Okay,
It was
captain.
the captain.
Captain. Okay. Well, because then it started talking about the two other people being the ones that were trading the slaves. So I got confused on
Yeah, I believe they took out the captain. They kept those 2 alive so that they would be able to
sail back.
yeah,
Yeah.
because they didn't know how to sail.
Yeah. So quite a shocking way to start,
Mm.
just with being driven to the point where he was removing a nail from the ground to be able to showing his cleverness that he was able to use that to open up his shackles,
Yeah.
then taking it over, and then their ultimate undoing being the language barrier, and encapsulates pretty much everything about this movie just from the first few minutes.
And yeah, that's how it works with immigrants, you know? They don't speak the language, so they don't understand what exactly is going on. They didn't know that they weren't heading back to Africa until they got captured.
Until I got to Connecticut.
So I felt like this was a huge contrast, and I kinda made the joke about the Titanic because they had the orchestra. But after all this happened, somehow he got everybody to be quiet, Cinque, and then this other ship just kinda passes by, they're drinking, having a good time, a Gatsby-like party, and over here you've got bad stuff happening, and they just kinda go by. It was just to me, it was a metaphor. "Yeah, we're having a good time, we're not worried about what's going on over there."
Yeah, the contrast.
Yeah,
For them, it's everything. To
yeah,
other people, it's nothing.
of course.
Yeah.
Didn't affect them, so
No,
let's keep going.
decadence to luxury. Why don't you tell me about the ship being inspected by the defense?
So we kind of touched on it earlier when Jodson and Baldwin go to the ship. They're trying to find something to prove that they weren't from Cuba. So, like you said, then Morgan Freeman got caught up in all the chains. To me, that was eye opening, obviously, to Jodson because he doesn't. Until you see it, I don't think you understand what they went through
Yeah,
because all they're talking about is, oh, they murdered all these people. For all you know, they were just sitting there sipping wine and they got mad and just took out the crew,
yeah.
but actually seeing all of the aftermath of the mutiny, which is not the right word for it because a mutiny is when your crew turns on you.
And they're gonna call it anything they want to make it sound bad. And I like that the 2 Spaniards are trying to get on before them
Oh,
to
yes.
to get the evidence
Yes.
and destroy it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I forgot about
And
that.
they got turned away because they didn't have the warrant. They didn't understand the system. They didn't know how to play it.
Yep.
So they got burned, and then that ledger was found.
They were for sure going to get it and
Yeah.
'cause
That
they
mu
knew they were wrong.
No, they were just using their political power to try to push us through. They never thought they were right.
It was all about money.
I mean, the most painful, visceral scene definitely gonna be the Takora. That was
Mm,
intense in a different way than it was in Schindler's List. Schindler's List, it was still, kind of cold, detached. But in this one, you felt their experiences. Really felt like you were more in the moment than you did at Schindler's.
yeah, and Schindler's, I feel like it happened more off camera.
Psychological was a
Yeah.
lot of it, yeah. This one, I mean, you see the people being killed on the deck. I would think I'll always remember that mother with
Oh,
the baby that Sinke was taking care of on the in the hold
yes,
and making sure it was staying alive, and her just going overboard by
and nobody
choice.
noticed.
Yeah, just truly dreadful. Really just left an impact on what these people went through on the Takora. Because like I said before this, we only seen their time on the Amistad, and we only had seen when somebody mentioned the Takora, seeing their faces and
Mhm.
kind of just them grimacing about it. But we didn't really know what it was that they'd experienced until the scene that was much farther into the movie.
We didn't even know they'd been on a different ship.
They kind of just mentioned the Takora. I was like, oh, okay, maybe it was like a ship they were on real quick to get transported from A to B. But they must have been on it for a while.
Yeah.
I think probably my favorite scene was when they're doing I think it's the second trial, right? When they're doing the decision and Cinque stands up and says, give us us free," and the best English that you can muster at the time, constantly shouting it, trying to make people understand that they are people and that they deserve their freedom and they deserve the rights that anybody else gets. Whenever there's a character that's not able to speak the language, whenever they do speak out, it's always shocking
Oh,
because
yeah.
you put yourself into this mind of this person is always going to be just saying a different language. I'll have to say subtitles, whatever. Kind of like, Nova in Planet of the Apes when she says Taylor. And so I really, I like that scene. I just like the pain and desperation that he had, that he wanted this to be over.
Yeah.
And feeling like he earned that win just made it hurt more when he had to go and do court again.
That was heartbreaking when Baldwin was trying to explain to them, "Well, this is how the
The
American
system's
system."
screwing you.
Yeah, and he's like, "I don't understand."
He's like, why would people put this into place?
Yeah, "How come your laws almost work?" And
Yeah.
yeah, he's right.
They had nothing else to prove, and they were just being used for political
Yeah.
gain. So some themes, realism versus idealism.
Yeah, so ideally, I would think the abolitionists.
Oh, yeah, they're the idealists.
Yeah, realism is obviously the court system
And
and
Baldwin,
Baldwin, yeah,
like, when he was talking to them about how the slaves are property, and you treat this like a property case, and they were insisting they need to treat it like a criminal case. That is realism versus idealism.
mhm,
That constant war, because you have to be able to maneuver the system. You can't come in there and just say that these people have rights. The court's not gonna listen to you. The jury's not gonna listen to you. You gotta be able to maneuver within the system to be able to get the outcome you desire. So watching realism versus idealism constantly fight in this movie.
I think realism kinda won. Honestly, this didn't change anything in the US at the time.
No, it did. It made things worse
Yeah,
because
okay, you're
it
right,
upset
yeah,
the South, but it changed the lives of these men.
yes,
Yeah, and then, separation, I think we talk a lot about the language separation
yeah,
and how that was alienating for everybody involved. Baldwin was frustrated with not being able to communicate with the people he was trying to represent. The representatives were upset because they were not able to communicate with the person representing them
yeah,
and tell their side of the story. Constantly having other people tell them what their side of the story was and never being able to get the words out what their version is.
plus their separation from their homeland,
Yeah, definitely.
their families, just their way of life, coming over here and we're just different.
Yeah. Constantly trying to do traditions from their homeland and
Yeah,
having to get permission and whether or not they can.
like when, one of their tribe members.
One of the men died. Baldwin had to ask for them to be able to bury according to the traditions
Yeah,
instead of the normal method.
yeah,
So yeah, just separation of who they were. And I think the last theme is just faith. There was definitely a through line of faith on here. Like we talked about with the abolitionists, Christianity was everything to them. There were people who kept coming in to pray for the Mende people, even though they had no idea what they were talking about.
They called them entertainers.
Yes, yeah, they thought they were entertainers, but
Yeah.
then they were like, "Why are they always so sad?"
Yeah, right?
Yeah. One of them actually gets handed a Bible, and he learns more about heaven and everything, and he kind of gains some of his own faith, and seeing how that brought comfort to him, I thought that was interesting.
I appreciated that there was illustrations in it.
Especially because he wasn't supposed to really get this book, he kind of took it from the person, but
Yeah, yeah,
so he was able to, and he was talking to Sinke about it, and
yeah.
he carried that in with him, it gave him power, so religion is there for most people when they're in their time of need.
They definitely were in their time of need.
Yeah, to give them comfort and support. But and then I think just also like a faith in the government. You believe that the government's going to do what's right by you, and if you do everything correctly, and we were constantly betrayed by that expectation in this movie
Yes.
because we believed you get a fair trial. They had to get rid of the jury because the jury was making a choice they didn't like. Thought you were, they even brought in somebody that was young and hungry and would want to use this to elevate their political career. When that didn't work out, they had to elevate it to the Supreme Court. The government systems let them down in every single way possible because they wanted to push their agenda over the fact that they wanted to do what was right for these men. All right, talk to us about symbols.
Okay, so we had the nail when he was trying to get free, and then all the blood, and it was hard for him to get it out, obviously, because he was using his finger. To me, that represented them trying to get free of this whole situation.
Desperation.
All the blood, and it was just all mirrored in what they were about to go through. It was exhilarating when he got the nail out, and then he was able to undo all the shackles.
Even having no idea what was going on. I
Nope.
was like, he did it. He got the nail out.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're gonna. Okay.
And I'm like, oh, somebody died. I'm not sure what side I'm on this. And yeah, you find out more. So him pulling out the nail is just symbol of freedom, symbol of their desperation of what they had experienced already and what they needed to do to get out because they were pushed to that point.
I guess you could equate that to Andy's journey digging through to the sewer in Shawshank. If you want it enough and you believe in it, you can make it happen.
I think I was smart to pull that out and try to use it on the shackles too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have thought of that.
Not me either, but
I probably would have started bashing him against the railing or something. We don't know if that was his first attempt. He could have done other
that's true.
escape attempts.
You're right. You're right.
What else?
So then we had the lion's fang.
Mhm.
Obviously, that was his token.
Yes.
I don't know, it just reminded him of, yeah, I can overcome this.
Yeah.
All I had was a rock and I beat a lion, which is a big deal because lions are pretty mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having the fang that he carried around, but then, like you said, they must have found it on the ground or something.
Yeah, because they return it to him. Because
Yeah.
I think that's when he tells them the story.
Yeah. And so he's looking at it, he's like, oh, yeah. Not that he was losing faith. Maybe he was, he just wasn't showing it because he was a good leader. But I think returning the fang to him really helped to cement what he was feeling or,
Yeah, it was a totem of his strength.
yeah.
Yeah. It's easier to remember something if you're constantly looking at an example of it. And he ends up giving that to Baldwin at the end.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
Yes, that was very touching.
Part of the goodbye. It's kind of just like him saying that the fight is over, he's won, he doesn't need this anymore.
And Baldwin will need it.
Yeah, because he's ruined his life.
Yep.
Tell us about your favorite Coldplay song.
I noticed a lot of yellow,
Hmm.
and you looked it up, and it was hope.
Yes. I mean, you already nailed that before you even looked
Yeah,
it
I know,
up.
but it was just confirmation. I liked when he wore yellow.
Yeah.
It was nice to see because a lot of these scenes were very dark, literally. So to see the yellow, it kind of brightened things a little bit. Didn't he wear it a lot when they were incarcerated?
He did, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the shirt that he had. I think Baldwin had a yellow hat too.
He did have a yellow hat,
Yeah.
yeah, and plus his hair.
Trying to stay away from the hair, but
I know,
it
I
was
know.
very yellow as well in
You can't stay away from
a
the
not
hair.
cool way.
I remember I was like, "His hair is really yellow."
It was very yellow.
And it got better as he went along, but my goodness.
That might be something in production they started it like,
Yeah.
you know what? Let's do this. It's like with Chris Hemsworth and Thor.
Oh, yeah.
If you look in the original Thor, he bleached his eyebrows and it looks awful.
Oh,
So every single other Thor appearance, he's got his normal eyebrows
good.
because they realized why would we bleach him if he look like he has no eyebrows?
It really did. And, Spielberg loves to use color, so
The last scene was him looking at the sky, the sun, right?
oh, yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That brightens everything, and it's yellow. And then, of course, the chains. Something I learned, they used real chains. It symbolizes being bound. It's interesting because they undo the chains on the ship, and then they go right back into chains when they land. So, and then they wore them even to court. They didn't get out of them till before the Supreme Court. Was he still in chains even though he was dressed like a French aristocrat?
I don't know if he had him on in the Supreme Court case, but there was that moment where John Quincy Adams had to remove the chains.
That's true.
Remember, then that's when he treated Cinque as an equal.
That's true. Yeah. When he came in after all
After all the questions,
did he try this? Did he try that?
does America have any treaties with so and so?
Obviously, that's a major one, the jeans.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, now that we've talked about the silver screen, it's time to go behind the scenes with The Shark Is Not Working. Mom, why don't you go ahead and tell us about the origin story of Amistad?
Just like Schindler's List, it started with a book. Debbie Allen, who is a choreographer, she was in Fame
Hmm.
back in 1981. She's a singer, she's an actress. I mean, she does all the things. Very talented woman. She discovered the story of La Amistad after she graduated from Howard University, and she learned about the Amistad case from a historical novel by William A. Owens called Slave Mutiny: The Revolt on the Schooner Amistad, and it was written in 1953, and then they republished it in 1968 under the title Black Mutiny.
And you said the mutiny word wasn't correct.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I know, and they keep using it. She hadn't learned about it in college, so she felt like it was a story that needed to be told, which I completely agree. And Morgan Freeman actually in one of the interviews had kind of said, "Oh, well, America kind of swept it under the rug," which,
This is wild.
I know. So I'm really glad that she felt that it needed to be told. We talk about Schindler's List a lot. She saw Schindler's List. She had been shopping around this book for, I don't know, 10 years or something.
Okay.
So it was quite a while. And she approached many different directors to try to get this made. And she was John Singleton and Spike Lee. They didn't take it on because they didn't think they would be able to get financed for it because they were Black directors.
Totally valid concern.
Yes, absolutely. So she kept shopping around. She saw Schindler's List and she thought, you know what, Steven might be able to understand because obviously she could see his soul in the movie. So I guess she had 25 minutes to convince him.
Okay.
And then, so Spielberg says, quote, she impressed upon me the importance of the African culture, and this film industry does not make movies about African subjects. And Debbie was passionate. And then she says, why can't Hollywood change? Which, very valid point. To this point, we've had mostly stories about white people in history.
Up to 2026 as well.
Yes, absolutely. And if there were Black characters, they were always in stereotypical
Mhm.
fashion. So she dared to say, why can't they change? So this is another reason why DreamWorks was created, so that they could put art first. Also, what I found out was nobody would finance the movie, so Steven Spielberg put up his own money.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, but
You
that's
said
a very Spielberg thing to do.
Yeah, and you said that this was a movie that you made for some of his story is children that he adopted
Yes,
to leave something behind for them.
yes.
Yeah. So I think that's great. I think him having a personal connection to the story that he's telling is always going to lead to a better result.
He always has a personal
Yeah.
connection. That's what we love about it.
Even though the quote in my book was that he dried it out too much.
There was a lot of legal,
You can't change the story completely, but after the second
yeah,
court case, like the second court hearing, I was just like, bro, we're doing this again.
yeah,
And they're not unique enough for me to be able to keep track of what's happening with all of
right.
them. Yeah, I would say it's definitely a dry movie to watch.
Unless you're into law,
Yeah.
then you're there.
Or if you like rain, there's a lot of rain in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. She's also a producer. I have to say that.
Awesome.
She also taught them how to dance.
She choreographed for
She
the
choreographed,
African
yes.
cast members. Okay. So next we have casting and cameos. Songbae PA, aka Joseph Sinke, was the last role to be cast. I think it was only a few weeks before they were filming.
9 weeks.
9 weeks before they were filming. Spielberg would have delayed filming for this for up to 2 years if he hadn't found the right cast member. And remember, he did this within 12 months with Lost World and Saving Private Ryan. This was right in the middle. So this showed how much he was dedicated to trying to tell the right story, give the best experiences he can for this project. Jamon Hunsu answered a cattle casting call.
Yeah, that's where they invite a whole bunch of people. They look through your headshots and, okay, no, he doesn't fit. And it's just,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So after he got the go ahead, he was asked to audition and thought it was to be an extra. Like
Yeah.
we said, didn't have much of a career before this.
No.
Wasn't anticipating, I think, in Hollywood to be asked to be a leading man. Apparently, Will Smith and Seal wanted the part. This wasn't a Serious Will era, so
No,
that
not
makes
yet.
that makes sense. And Seal, I don't know anything about.
he did your favorite song from Batman 2, Kiss on the Rose, Kiss from a Rose.
Is it Kiss from a Rose?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Not really
Yeah.
bona fides for why you should be in this movie. But apparently, Steven Spielberg wanted Cuba Gooding Jr. for the part, but he had just won the Oscar for Jerry Maguire and turned it down, believing he was on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
Snow Dogs, I guess,
Yeah.
is the bigger and better thing.
Suffice it to say, he regretted turning it
I would say
down.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't really remember a 2000s Cuba Gooding Jr. movie other than Snow Dogs
Maybe Radio.
because I was like 9.
Yeah, I really can't.
Other than
Nothing
that,
else really stands out to me.
we said Theodore Jotson was an amalgamation of other figures at the time. Steven wanted Morgan Freeman to play Kobe, the interpreter, which would have been a better role, but Morgan asked to be Jotson instead. Considering his age and
Yeah.
pedigree, it makes sense to choose this character that seems like it's going to have a more prominent role. I just don't feel like it went that way.
I wonder what got cut. Maybe there was more.
It's 2.5 hour long movie, though. I can't imagine a whole lot got cut.
Yeah.
Justice Story was played by actual Supreme Court Justice Harry Blackmun, and Dustin Hoffman was approached to play John Quincy Adams, but he refused.
What's going on with Dustin Hoffman? He just Hook was at it. Hook was it. I mean, maybe he was doing another project.
I just don't think you look at John Quincy Adams and it's not a sexy role. I mean, they put Anthony Hopkins in a bald cap for it
Oh my
to
God. I
to get
know.
the look right.
Yeah. We're like, oh, he is so aged up.
Yeah, they made him look older than he does now.
I know.
So go ahead and tell us about the writing.
This did not have 9 drafts, which I was
Didn't.
surprised with. Yes, I know. Or at least they didn't say it did. So David Franzoni, which also wrote Gladiator, which was in 2000, I
Yeah.
believe. His primary source of research was Howard Jones's 1987 nonfiction book, Mutiny on the
Oh, that's
Amistad.
crazy. Jamon Hansu is in Gladiator too.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
you're right. You're right. So he did the nonfiction book, Mutiny on the Amistad, the saga of a slave revolt. Revolt was the word I was looking for.
Ah, okay.
Okay. And its impact on American abolition, law, and diplomacy. And of course,
You can tell it's nonfiction just by how long that
oh
title
yeah,
is.
I know. Steven Zalian also worked on the script. He punched it up, like he normally does. But it said there was some kind of legal wrangling, and then he didn't get credit for it. So I'm not sure what happened
Who
there.
knows?
I didn't deep dive into that,
I'd like a job where I just come in and punch up a script.
right? But I would want my name out there.
Nah, it's fine. Money's money.
Did he get money though? If you're not credited, I don't know. I
Yes.
don't know how that works.
I'm sure he did.
I hope so.
Unless you're saying that Spielberg is a sleaze and he doesn't pay his people.
No,
That's what you're implying.
no.
So,
So there was not much for production.
yeah, I see that.
Yeah. I think they filmed it in 48 days,
Okay.
which he's getting tighter on his filming.
There weren't that many locations in this one, at least, so you didn't have to jump around a lot.
There was Puerto Rico. There was
Really, in Puerto Rico.
for the African scenes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Let's see.
That's like a couple days tops.
Probably. There wasn't that much in Africa.
The ships, I'm sure they just redressed the Amistad for the Decorah.
In real life, the actual event took place in New Haven, Connecticut. They couldn't film there, so they recreated.
Who's New Haven, Connecticut, to be so high and mighty
I don't know.
to not allow a Spielberg production to be at their movie? No one knows what you are, Connecticut.
Wait, New Haven is where Yale is, isn't it?
Sure, maybe. I know Yale. I don't know Connecticut.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but
New Haven.
yeah, at least this was before, the Canada. Everybody films in Canada because it's cheaper. So the city's harbor, obviously you needed, was recreated in Mystic, Connecticut.
A way cooler name.
Yeah.
New Haven. High and mighty New Haven.
You're really bothered by that, aren't you?
It just seems ridiculous.
So the streets and the squares,
What is Connecticut's capital? Tell me right now.
Hartford.
Damn. All right.
So the streets, the squares, and jail and courthouse were in Newport.
Newport.
Yep.
In Rhode Island. Even Rhode Island's getting some of this action. New Haven.
New Haven. We see you. So do you want to talk about our buddy Janis Kaminsky?
Giannis.
Giannis, I'm so sorry. I have tried so hard to pronounce everybody's name correctly.
We're doing the best we can.
I know,
I
I
think
know.
people understand that. Don't worry. But I'm not changing the way I say John Lennon.
All right, fine.
Until he comes and tells me, then I'll say I'm sorry. Now my knees in tears. I've dishonored you. Guy from Push. I loved you in that movie.
Don't forget he did Blood Diamond too, which was
Oh yeah, he
an
did.
excellent.
No, he did so much.
I
Like it's
know. I'm so glad that.
Guardians. He keeps himself afloat.
Yes,
so.
he does.
But every time he shows up, it just makes me happy. All right, so Janis Kaminsky, the cinematographer. Janis was inspired by Francisco Goya, a Spanish painter known for psychologically dark allegorical paintings. That's why we keep talking about the storms, and
Yeah,
the foggy nights and everything. That Victorian look, I think you can call it.
Victorian. Yeah, yeah.
He was inspired to use the undersaturated colors for the courtroom scenes.
That means that they're muted.
Because if it's saturated, it's vibrant colors,
Yeah,
right?
vibrant.
Okay. And for the scenes on La Amistad, he used Dutch tilt shots, along with lightning and rain to make the mutiny feel otherworldly.
Yeah.
Or the revolt, as we're calling
The
it now.
revolt.
Yeah.
Yes, the revolt. So yeah, I just learned what Dutch tilt shots were. I was pretty excited. I keep looking for books or something to teach me about all this stuff. And
Yeah, this is so if you don't know what a Dutch tilt shot is, I mean, it sounds exactly like it is.
yeah,
It's literally just a tilted shot. If you ever watch a movie with Kenneth Branagh directing it, there's always Dutch tilt shots. He's a very big fan of those. So if you ever watch Thor or any of the like Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile kind of ones, if you watch any of those, you'll notice that there's a tilt shot in it all the time because that's just his, I guess, his favorite,
his signature.
his signature. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us about the music. What's
All
our main
right.
man up to?
So John Williams again. Obviously, the score was amazing. It always is. He knows how to match a scene to music. He knows how to put you in the direction of how he wants you to feel about the scene. He did use a poem.
Really?
Yes, he used a poem called Dry Your Tears, Africa, Your Children Are Coming Home. And it was written in 1967 by French speaking Ivorian poet Bernard Benlin Dadi. Sorry if I said that wrong. You know, he got the permission to use it and he did it in Mende. After he completed the film and music, John Williams had the pleasure of meeting Bernard Dadi's family at the Washington, D.C. premiere of the film.
That's so cool.
I know. He basically said, "It was wonderful to realize once again how music has the power to join people together who are otherwise separated by oceans and continents." So I really think that definitely feeds into the theme of this movie. That's our musical marvel.
Oh, we just got some miscellaneous notes for you guys. So, in a bit of irony, the word Amistad means friendship in Spanish. Dr. Arthur Abraham, one of the world's leading scholars in African culture, was an advisor on the film. Like we've talked about with Spielberg, one of the greatest things about him is the fact that when he's tackling source material he's not used to, he makes sure to bring in the right people so that way he gets the viewpoints that he needs to be able to portray them in as positive as light as he can.
Yeah, and you need to do that because, you know, I wouldn't know how to make
Yeah.
an African movie. You're definitely gonna lean on people that do know. And the cool thing about Professor Abraham, he helped them with the Mende language.
Okay.
So he was kind of their coach.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Some stuff about kind of the real case of the Amistad, not as significant in the fight against slavery as it was portrayed. Obviously, it blew up in the book into
Yeah.
this big fight, and the South was putting in their input to try to influence the events. Spain was putting in the their input to influence the events.
To me, it felt like it was a pivot, maybe.
Maybe because I'm more cynical, to me, it was a weakening of the Southern stance, which pushed us closer to war.
So one thing that I enjoyed was okay, I didn't enjoy it at first. I'll admit I complained that there was no subtitles. I always have to watch my movies with subtitles. As I reflected on it, you really had to use context clues to figure out what they were saying in Mende, how
Mm.
their body language was and everything. And I can connect that to a personal experience when Grandma Pat died in 2002 and we were living in Turkey. We didn't use the traditional military transport to get back to the States. We flew on Turkish Airlines, you know, everything was good. You know, we did our thing. And when we came back, we had a layover in Istanbul. It was like a 5 hour layover, but you feel helpless when you don't know the language. All the signs were in Turkish. There was people telling me to keep you guys quiet. Somehow I figured out what they were saying. I didn't know exactly when the flight was leaving. It was scary. I was
Isolating, yeah.
yeah, because I had you guys were really young, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it back home with you guys, so I'm sure that was like a tenth of what these guys were feeling, but it feels very isolating, as you
Yeah.
said.
Probably claustrophobic.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I was so glad that somehow we figured it out, but and we made it back home.
But yeah, I think the lack of subtitles is definitely a good way to explain how this movie is about the barriers between us when we can't speak the same language.
So it definitely changed my mind.
So, like we talked about Roger Baldwin, don't know why I said Baldwin. He was actually older and a member of the Connecticut legislature, and he became governor of Connecticut 3 years after the events of the Amistad. So, I guess he did turn it around. The Lumbucco Fortress was destroyed in 1840 before the Supreme Court rendered its verdict, which the British destroyed that in the movie, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
And
British wouldn't
that's
have
is that where they got picked up by the Takora
yeah,
and the auction happened and
yeah.
everything? Okay. So that was actually in real life destroyed in 1840.
This case had no
No bearing on
yeah.
it, but good for them.
It was satisfying
Yeah.
nonetheless.
Yeah, obviously they put that at the end so that way it feels more of a win. Punches up the triumph a little bit.
Yeah, like something actually changed.
Yeah. But that's it. not a whole lot going on with the behind the scenes for this movie. So I hope you appreciate that. Kind of getting to talk a little bit more about what it actually looked like in real life, I think is always a good call. Talk the movie, we talk behind the scenes. Now let's go ahead and do the money and milestones with sandcastles in the sand. So for Amistad, it was a $39 million budget and it made $58.3 million. About one and a half times what its budget was. Probably did not make a profit. Don't know if it lost the studio any money. Probably did a little bit, but definitely not a huge hit for Spielberg.
Well, remember, he put up his own money, so
Yeah, the marketing and everything. So
true.
not a hit for him. Maybe a loss, but book ended by two pretty substantial box office winners. So not the end of the world. So the domestic box office for December of 1997, when this movie was released, was Titanic. So it was number one, obviously biggest movie of the year, biggest movie of all time for a long time.
Hmm.
So that was 600 million total domestic gross. Scream 2 was number 2 with a total gross of 101 million. Can't believe they got a December release. They never know when to release these movies. So number 3, Tomorrow Never Dies, Pierce Brosnan Bond flick. That one was 125 mil. Then you got Flubber, Alien Resurrection, awful movie. Mouse Hunt, fun movie.
Yes.
Anastasia, As Good as It Gets, The Rainmaker, and then Amistad was number 10 with 44 million. So yeah, not a big moneymaker. For the awards too, it wasn't a big hit either. It still got nominated 4 times: Best Supporting Actor for Anthony Hopkins, Best Cinematography, Costume Design, and Original Score, but it didn't win anything because Titanic came in and just took everything.
Yep.
So why don't you go ahead and tell us about your critic reviews?
So of course, I had to go look for Roger Ebert. He did give it 3 out of 4 stars, so that's pretty good. This is what he said. So quote: "What is most valuable about Amistad is the way it provides faces and names for its African characters, whom the movies so often make into faceless victims. The heart of the film really is in Anthony Hopkins' powerful performance as old John Quincy Adams, who speaks for 11 minutes in defense of the defendants and holds the courtroom and the audience spellbound. It is one of the great movie courtroom speeches, but in praising it, I touch on the film's greatest weakness. It is too much about the law and not enough about the victims," which I would agree with. Way too much about the law. And I'm not sure that I was spellbound, but that's okay.
We were already over 2 hours into this movie.
That's true.
It's hard to be spellbound after that.
Yeah. Janet Maslin from the New York Times, she said, quote, "Amistad demonstrates what it really means. It's the ability to use images like this flashback to create the full empathy and immediacy the subject matter deserves. It's the creative means to bring any experience home to an audience, whether it comes from a faraway planet or from our underexplored past. To make an expensive holiday movie about a shameful chapter in American history simply because one thinks that's the right thing to do." I was surprised it came out in December. So, Rotten Tomatoes, we got 78% on the tomato meter and 79% on the popcorn meters.
Okay,
Wasn't horrible.
about 4 out of 5.
It's a good first watch. So, what did you give it on your letterboxed?
Gonna go with 3 stars on it. Wasn't particularly engaging. Really liked the performances, but overall it just felt bloated and yet somehow not a lot happened. Yeah, I don't have like a cutesy review on this
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
It's just I just like to see where Jabon Hansu came from. Why don't you go ahead and tell us your rankings?
My first is Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. Second is Schindler's List. Third, Indiana Jones: Raiders of the Lost Ark. Four, Jaws. Too many J's. Number 5, Jurassic Park. Number 6, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. 7, The Color Purple. 8, Duel, still hanging in there. 9, Indiana Jones: Temple of Doom. 10, Always. 11, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. 12, The Sugarland Express. 13, The Lost World: Jurassic Park. 14, Amistad. 15, Hook. 16, Empire of the Sun. 17, 1941. I'm going to be honest, it almost beat 1941, but it had historical value for me.
Oh,
So,
that's intense.
I
Okay.
mean, like you said, it was very bloated and I would probably never watch it again. And it's not because of the direction or anything. It's just, you see it once. Oh, yeah, that's something. And, it inspired me to go on a little bit of deep dive. So it did what it was supposed to do, bring awareness and possibly more info. So, what about you?
So for me, number 1, Jurassic Park. Number 2 is Jaws. 3 is Schindler's List. 4, Last Crusade. 5, Raiders of the Lost Ark. 6 is E.T. 7 is The Color Purple. 8 is Duel. 9, Temple of Doom. 10, The Lost World. 11 is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. 12 is Sugarland Express. 13 is Hook. 14 is Amistad. 15, Always. Then Empire of the Sun. And then 1941. All right. Well, don't forget to also go out and give us a 5-star review on your podcast player of choice. We'll read it on the air. If you're on YouTube, give us a like, comment, subscribe. We're always trying to help with the outreach. Tell your friends. We would love to get more people to listen to us talk about these movies.
Mhm.
Next week, we will be talking about Saving Private Ryan, so 1998, Tom Hanks.
Before we close, I know that usually these don't come out in real time, but I wanted to acknowledge that James Vanderbeek did pass away from cancer. He was in Dawson's Creek. Obviously, he was Dawson. He was a huge Spielberg fan. He always had the movie posters around his room. And at the end of the series, he got a call from Spielberg, and Spielberg also donated money to his family's GoFundMe. So I wanted to put that out there.
Well, it seems fitting for our outro. Through amazing stories and unforgettable characters, we are introduced to those incredible worlds we only dare imagine. And in the process, we discover ourselves. This is Tyler signing off.
And this is Crystal. And don't forget to notice the purple.